Hello again, everyone. LitecoinLeader here. Welcome back to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. So one of the important things to really talk about is to look at having a plan. Whenever you want to get into a project, you need to have a couple of things right before you get into it and soon thereafter after you have the coin. The first two things that are very important when you get involved to a project is you want to find out where do you get the coin and how do you store it. If you have those two things answered, you can at least acquire the coin and put it into a safe place, normally a wallet with your private keys. But then after you have the coin, you need to have a plan on what you're going to do with that coin. And each coin probably has a different plan. So you may buy a coin and want to hold it forever. You're a hodler. That's great. But then you should also investigate some ways to get some extra income on it if you're going to hold it forever. And we can talk about that later in some other videos. So that's plan number one. Plan number two might be that you're buying it and you only want to keep some of it and you want to sell some. So that may dictate how much you buy up front. Say, example, you want to own 1,000 of a particular coin and you decide that you want to have your investment up front, pay for that and basically hold it for free. So you might buy 2,000 or 3,000 coins early on. You might buy 7,000. Yeah, depends on your math, but you buy more than you want to hold long term so that as it runs up, you can sell some, take your profits, get all your money back, and the ones that you keep are basically free coins. So that's one option. So those are the two positive scenarios. You're holding it forever, the coin goes up. Then there's the one that's kind of neutral, where you buy a coin and just kind of stagnant, and you're just there. It's just capitulating for whatever reason. Maybe you read the chart wrong, maybe you got in the wrong time, things happen, maybe news comes out. You decide like how long you want to hold into that project and just wait because it's not moving. Do you want to add to it? Do you want to move into something else? Have that plan in mind, because there's three things that can happen when you buy into a coin. It can go up, it can go down, or it can go sideways. The third one is the one we usually don't like to talk about, but you want to have a plan just in case, because it happens at least a third of the time, which is that you buy into a coin and it goes down. Do you want to have more cash in reserves or stable coins in reserve, what they call dry powder, so you can buy more and average in? So let's say you you just love a project and it's at $10 and you think it's going to go to 20 and you're going to double it and you're going to say, I'm going to sell X amount at 20 and I'm going to live happily ever after. That's great. But let's say you buy it at 10 and it goes down to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. That's the worst case scenario. Let's say it's not going to go below 5, and hopefully it never gets to that point. But you buy in and you average it and you keep some dry powder so that you can add more and more. You have more cash to buy more and more. So let's say you bought, instead of buying 100% rate, jumping in day one at 10, you jump in with 20%, and you know that you're going to buy 20% in either a couple of weeks or if the price goes down. Let's say it goes down to 9, you buy more. It goes down to 8, you buy more, and so on. So after a while, your average price is like $7 or $8, maybe below 7. And you've got all your money in, like, okay, I'm out. I'm in at 5. I'm like 10 to 5. And now, rather than having to wait to get all the way back to 10 to be even, you're waiting to get back to 7 or 8 to be even. And now you actually get in profits if it gets back to 10. So that's another option. So there's your three options. You want to go up, you go down, you go sideways. It's important to have a plan. So the next thing we want to talk about is the psychology of the markets and what kind of impact that can be for you and your portfolio. All right, let's talk about the emotion that comes into play when we're doing trading of anything in a market. Maybe it's stock market, be it a bond market, be it a futures market, or the cryptocurrency market. Human beings are an interesting bunch. As such, they always bring emotion into the equation, which is never what you really want to do when you're looking at numbers or financial decisions or logical decisions. Typically, you don't want to involve emotion because that can lead to a bad outcome or a bad choice. So we're going to go over some of the emotional roller coaster that people go through as markets go through cycles and what you can do to combat this somehow. First off, let's take a look at the general trend of a psychological market cycle. So there's many emotions, about a dozen or so. It starts out with disbelief. This is where you think this rally is going to fail. We're never going to get off the ground. Then it's starting to come up, and you get some hope. So you're like, maybe this is going to go up. Maybe this isn't going to disappoint us. Back in the disbelief phase, And then you get more and more optimistic to the into optimism category. And then you believe, you really are a true believer, you believe, and then we're never going to go back down. It's going to keep going up. The thrill ride continues as it goes up and up and up to a point of euphoria where you think you can never go down. That's when usually it comes crashing down and you get into an issue. So this is basically where Bitcoin was in 2017 and a lot of the altcoins shortly thereafter. You thought that the market has been matured and there's money going to come after and after. There's going to be ETFs that actually never came. Then you get past this and then the euphoria starts to go down along with the price. And you think, complacency. This is the phase where like, well, that's just a healthy pullback. It's going to be just fine. We're going to keep rolling up. And that's where you get some anxiety as it starts to go down and down and down. So this is what happened in 2017, 2018. Anxiety, denial, and finally panic when the prices had eroded from $20,000 Bitcoin down to like 5,000 or 6,000. You're like, oh, the miner's going to start shutting off their equipment. Is the network going to go down? And we're going to go to zero? Panic and anger sets in. Capitulation, that's where like everybody's getting out. And you get angry and like, are we ever going to get back there again? It gets depressing after a while. It took us forever to get back. This point here, I would say this deep darkness point was probably last summer or last spring when we were in the $3,000 to $4,000 Bitcoin range. Still depressing despite the dips. And then we started to go up and we hit probably about $14,000 last fall. This belief, this is a sucker's rally. This is not going to go back up to where we need it to be. We keep going, then it pulls back. But disbelief, you notice disbelief is mentioned here. You'll notice that it's also mentioned over here. So you get just a higher disbelief, and then the cycle continues. So the question naturally is, where do we think we are today? Are we at a point where we're still going to go up? Are we at hope or optimism or belief? Or are we at a euphoria? Odds are we're somewhere in between. We're probably in the hope to optimism range because we've crossed the previous all-time high. So there's definitely hope and optimism. We're probably in the optimism belief, but there's no scale of time, right? This is a time axis to the right, but this optimism belief thrill phase could last months, maybe even more than a year. This is definitely where we're in. We're in this zone right now. Here we are in April of 2021. We certainly have not reached the peak euphoria yet because money's still coming in and people are still buying into Bitcoin. Not financial advice, but it still seems that we're going to go up and up and things are turning more and more positive. So this is the idea of the psychology of a market cycle. Now, let's talk quickly about how to combat some of these different factors. Okay, so we talked about the psychology of a market cycle. And we also talked previously in a couple other videos about 3 things that can happen whenever you buy into a project. The price can go up, the price can go down, or the price can stay the same. Obviously, we'll be thrilled if the price goes up. We won't be so thrilled if the price goes down. And then there's also the price it can stay the same, and you might get into a complacency, like this is just going to trickle sideways for months. So you need to have plans for all different scenarios going forward before you ever even get in, or shortly thereafter. You must have a plan. Call it an exit strategy, call it a holding strategy, call it both. What is your plan for that particular project or coin as you move forward with the project through time? If the price goes up 50%, are you selling a portion to capture some of your gains? They always say that you can never go broke taking a profit, so that might be an option. But if you're in it for the long run and you're swinging for a 10x, then that may not be the right thing to do and you want to wait. So it's going to be very project specific, very personal decision. But you need to understand that if you don't have a plan, you're going to be very much subject to this chart of psychology, and you're going to get into a thrill ride, and you're never going to want to sell. Like, oh, it's going to keep going up, going to keep going up. But then, like, if you had a plan, like I'll take 2 or 3x and I'll sell some, execute your plan, and then have that option where, let's say you wanted to keep 1,000 coins of whatever you're getting into. Maybe you buy 2,000 or 3,000 to start off, knowing that you're going to sell off some, but you'll eventually keep those 1,000. So you'll make your profits on the other 1,000 or 2,000 you purchase, and that will pay you back and then some for the initial purchase. And that $1,000 you keep is a free ride because you've already made all your money back and then some. So Have a plan, work your plan. Do not let the market or the psychology of it dictate what happens to you and your portfolio. Have a plan for whatever the unexpected can come, because there's only 3 options: up, down, or sideways. Have your plan and work it. So there we go. We now have our plans for multiple plans for being in a coin, and several different exit strategies that we can execute, because each coin will have its own script. We've gone over the psychology of the market, approximately where we are. That can be, that can vary per coin. There is the overarching, where's Bitcoin, where's the entire market, where are the altcoins at. But we want to have these psychological factors into our minds so that we don't let the market just dictate to us, other than it tells us which plan we execute on. We don't want to just be reacting to the market without a plan. You want to have a plan so you have multiple plans, and you're just picking which plan you're going to execute on based on what the market is doing. Because you could do whatever at any given time. You have no control over that. You might have a good idea, but we all get surprised. The news comes out that surprises us. It could be a pleasant surprise, or it could be a bad surprise. But it's important to have all the different plans so you're ready both psychologically and mentally for how to deal with the different markets, and you can react accordingly. So with all that said, this is LitecoinLeader giving you some more thoughts, so my own opinions on how to deal with this wild world of the cryptocurrency market. With that, we're going to close the drawer in the bureau, and I'll see you next time.